This man is a fool. And he wants to use grown-up words. This is Nuance with Nikki, the nitty-gritty, even if it's shitty. This episode will absolutely not be appropriate for children. I'm going to make even my followers potentially uncomfortable here. Please listen to me if you've ever thought I have sense. Because I think that we are scratching at wounds. I might scratch at wounds that you're not ready to confront. I have healed in this way. I think the nation has healed a lot. Please know that I'm speaking from that place. And you know my intentions. You know they're always good. This man is a fool. Children are not allowed to watch this video. Please, sensitive viewers, anybody who has lost a family member to unalivement, especially by gun violence, please spare yourself the trauma of what I'm going to show later in this video, okay? I come in respect. But for those who are ready to face an uncomfortable truth, well, you're going to be comfortable with the fact that this man is a fool. We already know that.
So Operation Tadula and his thugs have decided to threaten my life by going to my home in Camps Bay and shooting live ammunition against my walls at my home in Camps Bay and at my house in Sandhurst.
Now the truth is this, no one...
Okay, so I got that footage thanks to Just Chizzy. She seems to be on our side there, South Africa, so let's see if we can send her some love. Okay, I hope I'll remember to do that by the end of this video. I'm going cold. So show us the receipts of where your house in Camps Bay and Sandhurst, Johannesburg. Is that correct? Was there a Sandhurst in Cape Town? I'm not familiar with Cape Town, but Camps Bay. Oh, I know Camps Bay from Legends. I know. Do you understand? I've been to Camps Bay, but I'm not that familiar with the Cape Town territory. So I believe he's talking about Sandhurst here in Johannesburg, where presidents have lived. So show us. Who's stopping you from showing us? Instead, you are choosing to do a march on the 16th of December. You are choosing to do a march on the 16th of December. Sir, you have chosen to disrespect South Africans and to initiate a march when they're trying to stand up for justice on the day of reconciliation, which is still a sensitive topic and has been one since the 1800s.
The evolution of the 16th of December in South Africa is a story intertwined with how far we have come as a people before democracy came to be.
Never, and never again.
Never, and never again. Two crazy men that they still are lambasted all the time for saving millions of lives, and everybody calls them, sellouts, and their names are F.W. de Klerk and Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, who shared a Nobel Peace Prize. Whatever you feel about these people, they saved millions of lives for non-doctors. They saved millions of lives by doing something crazy. Okay? And they chose the day of reconciliation. This day is important to two groups in our country who very rarely come together, but when those two groups come together, we are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. The foundation of why those first two groups, and yes, they both have responsibility on their sides, but this foundation of why those first two groups don't come together come from Britain, who created a lot of drama. And there was the Battle of Blood River under Piet Retief, who was trying to work with Dingaan, King Dingaan. As I understand it, I believe King Dingaan had assassinated his own brother to get to the throne. The Afrikaners came to him and said, hey, can we use some land? And he said, look, you know what? Yeah, as long as you can get cows for me. And the story is, I know it, and I do want to know more perspectives, but as I currently know it, and this is where my position is coming from, is that they went to go and fetch cows for him. They said, we found your cows. He's like, cool, why don't you guys come and eat? And basically, from what I understand, is that he then killed their leader, Piet Retief, when he invited him to dinner. There were only 200 Boer against the whole British nation, the whole the Zulu nation. This is a nation that had brought the British army to its knees. This is a powerful nation that you don't mess with. And the Buddha made a covenant with God, and somehow they managed to survive that. There were a couple of Zulus on their side, from what I understand. Okay? And part of how they managed to survive that is because they actually understood the Zulu, they understood their war tactics, and they used the river. Okay, go and, it's a fascinating story, go and watch it. So that creates a rift between these two nations. The next time, the other person that the Day of Reconciliation is important to is Mkontu Sizwe, the spear of the nation, not the current party, the original armed wing of the ANC, who were fighting the Buddha, who were oppressing them at the time. Now, you should know that history by now. That shouldn't be news to anybody. Okay? They had tried unarmed resistance. Shouldn't be news to anybody. That didn't work out at the time. So they were forced to do that, to start the spear of the nation. I know I'm speaking some painful stuff here, guys. Right? But there's been a rift, a spiritual rift between two brothers in our country for a long time. And the irony is there are 3 times in our history that I know of where those two came together and this country was bulletproof. The one time was recently. You've all been alive in that time. And that was in 2021, June. It may have been 22, but around June, there was looting across the country. You may have stood as a human shield to protect your personal shops from looting. Or if you didn't, you were preparing for that. Do you remember that time? And was it not the taxi drivers, the majority of whom on my side of the country are Zulu? And was it not the farmers, the majority of whom I know of as Boere? Was it not the Zulu and the Boere that came to protect us when the South African National Defence Force wouldn't? When those two came together, we could all stand. The next time that you remember those two coming together was when the Witkant accused our beautiful black captain of things they shouldn't have accused him of, for speaking Afrikaans, and then Afrikaans and Zulu came together and we scared the pants off of the British press. But there's a long history here. Do you guys know that Lord Milner said there will be 3 Englishmen for every 1 South African? He said he's going to erase the languages here. He was going to erase Zulu. He was going to erase Afrikaans. He said that he was going to erase Zulu and Afrikaans, and the Zulus said cha, and the Afrikaners said nee, isali. Today, as a Soti, I am proud to say that both Zulu and Afrikaans are spoken more in this country than English. Now, later on, we understand that English becomes the language of freedom. We understand what happened in 1976, so it's different context, but this runs deep, right? But it's still two cultures that have quite a rift. They're kind of keeping distance from each other and respecting or whatever, but it's still two cultures that have quite a rift. But that rift that was created between them over a century ago has caused more pain in this land than many other things. More bloodshed since that Battle of Blood River. I don't know what may have happened before there. Okay, that's the history that I understand. I'm willing to go fact check. There's actually still more I want to learn about it. Okay, but I'm seeing this through a spiritual lens. That's how I see this. That rift was created, a generational rift. And Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela and F.W. de Klerk were crazy enough to try to bring those two together, never mind the rest of us. And no matter what you say, no matter who you like and don't like, we are alive. Nobody in history has done that before. And now here comes Gytjie Mampara van der Voetsekfontein to come and talk about unalivement threats. And he's not the first one. Everybody who lies about our nation wants to talk about unalivement threats, no? Die groen en wit land. Verstaan julle? Met die groen rok. Second place. Abo second place. Ne? Abo, we are Miss Ing Africa Oceania. Oh, first runner up. Babe, Miss Universe is Denmark. Miss Universe is... Julle is Miss Bar. Ons het al Oh, jylle kom beslos maar. But apparently she received unalivement threats, ne? Mister, what do I do? What will I do if someone calls me a white? See you next Tuesday. What will I do? My love, you're supposed to go to your captain, ne? You made sure to go somewhere where there's a mic. Two things those two people have in common. Both of them didn't go to their hearings. Groen and Witkant didn't go to the Home Affairs hearings. Or am I new here? Witkant didn't go to World Rugby, or am I new here? They didn't lodge a complaint. World Rugby took initiative. And then other people are thrown under the bus because he's a victim. She's a victim. She's such a victim. Oh, you poor arme victim. Oh, shame. Unalivement threats. Do you know South Africans? Do you know South Africans? That's a very serious accusation. Now, here is what gets to me about that. It's because we know the reality of a hit in South Africa. People who were trying to give us electricity a few months ago were faced with this reality.
Run huge risks.
It really is a brutal province for anybody who wants to expose the truth.
A gangster kind of economy.
Yeah, definitely. Life is cheap in this country. You can hire a hitman for 10,000 rand. That's
Did you guys hear that? Let me just, because some people who want to use grown-up words when we face the reality of such, no? We face this. There are many things we want to say sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Life is cheap in this country. You can hire a hitman for 10,000 rand. That's $400.
Do you remember that police lady who unalived her whole family? I think 6 of them, or she threatened their life. Nah. Do you remember? Okay, so please, guys, I'm about to show you some upsetting footage. If you love AKA, please don't watch this. If you cannot stand gun violence, please don't watch this. This is going to be brutal. Okay? It's going to be real. Alright? But this is the reality of how quickly it happens in South Africa when someone wants to do away with you. This is how swiftly it happens. AKA, one of our celebrities was just chilling at a club one day. Just chilling, minding his own business, saying goodbye to somebody. Right? No threats, no words, nothing. Right? Just minding his own business, and there we go. Split second, faster than I can click my fingers. And a life was lost. That is how fast it happens in reality in South Africa. That is how fast it happens in South African reality. So that is why you need to produce evidence. Gayton McKenzie said, okay, show us the screenshots where they threatened your lives. And you know I'm not a big fan of that man, necessarily. But I can't say that he always doesn't talk. Listen, I don't agree with him on everything. But there are some things where I'm like, yeah, he's got a point though. At least he doesn't confuse me. I know his stance. Guys, that is the reality of South Africa. You are using big words to say that things are happening to you so that you can play the victim card. When the lived reality on the streets of South Africans is that these things do happen, that they are cheap, that they are swift, that they are fast. We have had to deal with that grief and pain. You wouldn't use words like that if you knew. If you knew real racism, like this country has known and still sometimes knows. Still sometimes knows in the darkest corners of this country. You wouldn't be calling yourself a victim for a see you next Tuesday or for a, hey, where's proof of your identity? You are not acting like a South African would. Your mother, when we said you were South African, didn't come out and swear at us in Zulu. Hey, Nianzan, yeah, Utin, Nitin, this is my daughter. You said she's half a Zulu. Nah? My mother pointed that out. She said her aunt would never. My great aunt would never. My great aunt used to say, 6 will fall. She would never stand by and let her child be slandered if that was not the case. Nithini? Eh? Eh? Nifunani? Eh? Ke tla go shapa, ke tla go betsa, ke tla go shaya. That you'd be slapped, the whole country would be slapped in syllables. You guys want to use big words. You want to use big words that you don't know the reality of. You want to claim things to people who've actually been through things. You will then come after the so-called unalivement threats to the same South Africa and come play here and walk out alive. You are alive because nobody did that. Nobody threatened you. It would have been too easy. Nobody did it. You don't know what it is to live under that threat every day. You don't know what it is to have things you want to say, and where you have to consider very carefully what you're going to say. You don't know what it is. Was it not Babita? Whistleblower. You don't know what it costs to be a whistleblower in this country. You use heavy words. All you have proven. You know, there's a post on Facebook that says, if you set a boundary and the person pushes back, it is proof of why the boundary needed to be put up. You guys have seen my husband. Have you noticed that he's not around anymore? I have spent half my marriage with him. Because he'll come for the 3 legal months and then he'll make sure he leaves and he goes away from me for 3 months. And he comes for 3 months while we wait for his documentation to come through, and there's been a backlog. Why has there been a backlog? Because of a lot of illegal stuff. And we've paid. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. I can tell you stories. But if I told you stories, would certain things that happened in the videos happen too? You guys are using grown-up words. You're using grown-up words. All you were asked to do was to go and fill in a piece of paper. As a business owner, you don't need to wait for a day off. All you are being asked to do is to make sure that there is compliance, there is no rat poison in your shop, that your shop is clean, that there's no expired food, and that you are hiring South Africans too. Not just profiting and extracting, but creating jobs and skills, etc., etc. Do you guys realize that the rule of the ANC is over? This is a new phase, 2024. It's the new 1994. So we have this phase, we had the ANC phase, we had apartheid, then we had the British Union of South Africa. Before that, we were 4 different colonies. Before that, it's complicated. This is a new phase. Christmas is over. Okay? I'm sorry that you think that South Africans who just want fairness are the Grinch. But I assure you, because Christmas is such a big deal in this country, the 15th of December is where everything in this country stops and comes to a standstill. It has still got the legacy of a mining country in which migrants would go home for Christmas, nah? We've been living with people since the mining days. Gold was discovered here in 1886 and about 2 decades before in Kimberley. Since then, people have been migrating from the countries today called Southern African countries. And we got along, but laws were followed. It should not be revolutionary to say don't poison children. It should not be revolutionary to say don't human traffic. It should not be revolutionary to say don't steal someone's identity card, their means to healthcare, their means to a vote. People who grew up free, were born in a free country, will take that for granted. It should not be revolutionary to say 20 kids have died, there's not going to be a 21st child. Now, if you come from a country where that's just a Tuesday in a middle school, then you have problems to solve rather than tweeting about South Africa. If you come from a country which right now is bombing people, you've got more important things to worry yourself with than who we choose for a beauty pageant. If your tax pounds and dollars are going there. If you come from a country where your government is unjust, then take the energy of marching and go and do to them what South Africa did to ours. Enough with the destiny swapping. Enough with waiting for South Africans to bake the whole cake and then you come and eat all of it. You are welcome to share. This is not a country for beneficiaries. It's a country of benefactors. We are benefactors in this country. It's not just a country for consumers. It's a country for contributors. We are contributors. We are the children of miners. We are the children of hunters. We are the children of farmers. We are the children of corporate people and businesses. We have a contributors culture. Do you genuinely believe a car guard can protect our cars? Do you think we believe it? We allow them work because we don't want them to starve. We are the last line of defense against starvation for the poor. But there is a very small percentage of taxpayers in this country. What is wrong with registering a business? What is wrong with paying business tax? There are people who are confessing. Like, I was kicked out of the RDP house I was renting. Why were you renting a house that is reserved for black South Africans? It literally is reserved for those who are under apartheid, and no other races, as I understand it, are eligible, right? I think if any, then it's a small percentage. But from what I know, as general South African knowledge, I'm not even going to fact check, because this is what I know as general South African knowledge. It's supposed to be to reverse the injustice of the whole land issue. It is specifically reserved for them, and you don't see any of us crying. You don't even see rich or middle class or even working class black people crying. There are 10 class groups in this country. Why are people praying on the bottom of the barrel? Why are they trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel? Another uncomfortable truth. When you guys steal identity, you're not stealing Mariki van Donder's identity because that wouldn't work. You're not stealing Priyasha Kumar's identity because that wouldn't work. You're not stealing Zenobia October's identity because that wouldn't work. But you call yourself pro what? You call our black people what? While stealing their entire lives from them. And then you expect complicity and silence from them. Is it not them that sit at home because they have a criminal record for a crime they didn't commit, so they can't do anything? Is it not them who cannot complete their matric after surviving the 1976 Soweto uprisings to fight Bantu education? Now they can't get access to any because of a lack of ID. People trying to get out of poverty can't get a bank account. Then they can't get access to health care. If they were imprisoned, how would they get out without an ID? If they were dead, how would they get a death certificate and a will without an ID? This is destiny swapping and usurping. And now you have the gall to come and march on our day of reconciliation, call us bad guys, paint our name. Where is that energy within your own borders? And people will preach to us about these are colonial borders. Really? Really? Because from what I understand, the scramble for Africa, as I, a history tutor my kids every year, happened around 1910. Okay? Sorry, let me hide this upsetting footage from you. So, explain to me, is Botswana's border colonial? Botswana, when did you get your independence, my baby? Oh, no. Botswana independence. There we go. 1966. 1966. Okay. Namibia, was it not 1990? Because you were part of our country before. People still have said March 1990. They were part of our country. They could have enjoyed Madiba coming out, but I'm happy for them. So that already, when did former Rhodesia become Zimbabwe? I actually don't know this one. Zimbabwe independence. 1980. So between 1960 and 1990, the majority of South Africa's northern border was chosen by their own countries, and you're still talking about colonial borders. They were colonial borders, we know. But the Union of South Africa, looked, where was it? Like that. Right? Those countries chose their own. There we go. My face is probably in front of it. Okay, there it is. Those countries chose their own things since then. So people who aren't even living in Southern Africa want to white knight on issues that are over. An apartheid that was won by everybody who's here. What has happened since then? People deserve to live. Poor people deserve to survive. One last thing. The narrative of black people in this country being lazy. Tell me, how can you be lazy at 4 o'clock in the morning in the taxi? How can a taxi driver be lazy at 3 o'clock in the morning in the bath to get ready to drive those? How can construction workers, you see them napping at noon when the sun is up there. They left, did I not say, at 4 o'clock to come build with their bare hands. And they're exhausted by lunchtime, so instead of eating, they sleep. So that after lunchtime, they can get up and go work again. Working in the heat. How's that lazy? The Amagwenya auntie I spoke about in my last video, how's that lazy? One nurse in a private hospital, for example, in trauma ICU, will have one patient because the rule in private is one nurse per patient. That same nurse at a public hospital will have 40 patients. Colored and black teachers in our former Group Areas Act homes have 40 kids. A private school have 25. 40 kids. A policeman has 50 dockets open. The majority of these people are black. They tend to have an average of 40 to 50 times the work that anybody else does. Overwhelmed, underworked, and they stay in those trenches when with their skills they could choose to go to private. A lot of them are colored, and there are your odd white and Indian that works there too, that'll go there into the trenches. How's that lazy? When they've been given an average of 40 to 50 times. I actually want to do the calculations on this. Okay. So 40 times as much as the next person, 50 times as much as the next person is literally 4,000% and 5,000% as much. Because you got to add the 2 zeros, right? As I understand it. Okay? Black South Africans deserve the same freedom, rights, and dignity that anybody else in any country has. I, as their sister, daughter, cousin, student, patient, have gone to America, have done a psych test, a blood test, a urine test, and handed in my police clearance before getting 2 visas there. For no reason was denied my second, for no reason was denied my third. I, as their daughter, have done a blood test, a urine test, and this is embarrassing, but a feces test to work in Mauritius for my work permit. I've done it. A South African scientist wrote an entire report on my kak. You guys don't believe me. So if you didn't see my video, Give Black South Africans Some Peace, do go and check that out. It was brilliant. But here's pictures of me in many different countries in the world. Let's have a look at me in the USA. Listen to what I say.
Been expected to provide police clearance to prove that I'm not likely to do a crime in the nation I'm visiting. I have always handed in my documentation for work permits, such as health checks, psych checks, x-rays, and the like.
If you know anything about us, you would know not to be marching on the Day of Reconciliation. You saw people create human shields of themselves in Soweto and all the way to Durban. An example here of people prepared to make sure that their communities are safe at the local mall. Stood up to looters, didn't matter what their color.
This is the heartbeat of our area. You destroy this mall, you destroy us. We fought so hard so that we can have more, so that our life can be much easier, so that our kids can be employed. We are not threatened, we are ready for them. We are well prepared, we've got everything. We are far much stronger than them. As just point out where they are. You can see them, those guys that are coming up there. Some will be coming from this direction. And how many people have you been able to mobilize? We have got the whole community. Hold it, hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Robert is red.
That's my country standing up for herself. Didn't matter what color the person was, they were standing up. They were ready, baseball bats in hand.
Indeed,
only one government. They were said 25,000 troops, but only one military helicopter was visible. People were waiting for fuel and food. Long lines.
People are hungry at the moment. People haven't had an opportunity to stock up. So they're really desperate. They're desperate for milk, for food, for supplies for their kids. They don't have formula. They don't have nappies. They just really battling.
They're South Africans cleaning up their own cities. Cleaning up their own cities. Look at that. You want to talk about race? We work together for this country. We work together for this country. But notice how they start peacefully. Don't tell me I didn't show you them starting peacefully. I showed you a peaceful start, nah? I showed you a peaceful start, but do not underestimate how much we love this country. I was 8 years old when I became a co-parent along with 50 million South Africans at the time to a baby nation. This is not just our home, this is our baby. This is our daughter. We want to know what your intentions are with our daughter. If they're honorable, no problem. If they're honorable, no problem. However, like any parent, if your intentions are not honorable, this is us standing up to our own people. We stood up. Communities gathered. You saw all races. Don't say you didn't see all races. But we were ready. And after that, we cleaned up. We, the people of South Africa, cleaned up this mess. We didn't wait for anybody else to do it. We are go-getters. We are doers. We are contributors, not consumers. Not just consumers, nah? Their people are burning malls. We are beneficiaries, not just benefactors. You are welcome to be one of us, but that is one of the requirements. Every South African was raised in a strict culture, whether that's Buddha culture, whether it's Zulu culture, whether it's Xhosa culture, Sesotho culture, Indian culture, colored culture, Setswana culture, Muchonga culture, Venda culture. We all got hidings. We were all raised by extreme discipline. You've seen me show our kids and how they were schooled. People are queuing. They are making sure that they can make this right. And then we did. We did. This is already over. We fixed all of this chaos. This is how we grew up at many of our schools. We even were told how to stand, how to dress, how to do everything. It's a country of disciplined people. You know? So this is the reality. You've seen me play this video. All know our formations. We all know what to do when we have to do something. That's the discipline with which we were raised. That is the discipline that is expected in this country. We have been very kind. We've been good hosts, no matter who wants to say what. But Christmas is over for those who want to abuse. And we're willing to take criticism. We're not willing to let this place burn. This has been Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty. All we're asking for is for respect. We have been voted the friendliest country in the world. We have very recently been voted the friendliest country in the world. But I think people mistake that. They mistake kindness for being a doormat. And to me, that speaks about the kind of person that would only be kind in exchange for something. No. Enough is enough. Okay? Enough is enough. Give us a chance to clean up the house. Then we'll see you when you're ready to behave. I don't know what else to say. There it is. Us protecting ourselves against threats, protecting ourselves against floods. No one who is not a threat has anything to worry about. Nobody. No one. But you come for one of us. You come for all of us, whether you're a natural disaster, whether you're a threat from within, whether you're a threat from without. Friendliest country in the world, but no one's doormat. Do your part. Here or at home, but do your part. Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty. Thank you for joining.